Next project we're going to work on here is refinishing a guitar. This is a Gibson Nighthawk, and it's got a beautiful flame maple top. And what Gibson did is they just sprayed a red translucent finish on it, so there's actually no figuring that really pops out. You see some of the lines here and there, but this top has a lot of potential. It's one of these what we would call bastard tops that's got lots of figure everywhere but doesn't really pop. So I've got it taped off here, the fretboard and the sides, and then I'm going to go ahead and scrape and sand it. And one of the reasons I'm refinishing this guitar is there's a bunch of divots all over the top. The top is starting to check a little bit in some spots as well. So if you look at the old 90s Gibson stuff, you can find some really interesting tops that you can refinish, and that's kind of my next set of videos. I'll be finding some cool Gibsons that they just didn't take care of properly and put a nice color on top of them here. So we'll get this top cleaned up now. So I start with 80 grit here, and the reason I'm using this Black & Decker sander, it's a light sander and it's not very aggressive, so I can really control this. That's why I use this sander in most of my videos. I've got a lot of different power sanders out in the garage, but I like the feel of this one, and I like that it's very light and it's not very aggressive, so I can really control what I'm doing here. So I'll start with 80 grit. I'll change the paper out once or twice here and make sure that I'm not getting any buildup on the paper, and just really clean this off. And I make sure that I'm not really taking off the top, that I'm just taking off the finish. Next we're going to get some mineral spirits. Just clean this up, show you what the top looks like. Just a tad little bit of red left, but you can see how beautiful this maple top is. It's got nice figuring in the center. It kind of disappears, so the grain runs through this way. So this would be great for a burst right here in the center, and then feather the edge with a black. Definitely not a plus or really high grade top, but still a lot there to work with. There's a little bit of red left here. I'm just going to get a sharp chisel and just kind of scrape it out. Alright, so first with this burst, we're going to do a brown base. We're going to get the brown to soak in. I've got my water soluble brown here. Going for a really dark color. Really want it to soak in and highlight the grain. Alright, next we're going to come back with some 400 grit sandpaper and sand off some of that brown, leaving some of the darker lines in the middle here. We're just going to clean up the brown, don't leave it so dark, and really sand off in the middle and get it nice and clean. Next we're going to take some bright scarlet red and a clean rag. And we're going to wipe that on. Now we're going to take our brown rag and dip this in the red and start to feather the edge to get that darker edge. So I'm not using full brown, but I'm getting it to really kind of bleed in. So then I'll come back with a clean rag and pull off some of that excess that's sitting on the top here. And now I've got a little bit of a hard line here, so what I'll do is I'll come back with my red and just kind of rub it back in. So this is a constant back and forth, continuing to dark up, the exact spot that I want. And then wiping it out. That way you get that really hard color line that looks like you sprayed it. I'll go back with one more little bit of brown on the edge. I want it to really darken up once more. So now that I've got the top dry, I'm debating whether or not I put a tad bit of yellow to help pick up the gold brass coloring here. I kind of like the brown and the red, and I think the yellow would actually highlight the hardware a little bit better. That way the guitar pops. So I'm going to go back, sand off a little bit with 600 out of yellow, and see if I can get that to brighten a tad. So I've got my lemon yellow added to some water. I'm going with a real light coat here. I don't want to have a really dark yellow. I just want to pull out some of the figure. So you can see immediately the red gets picked up. So I'm just turning my rag, making sure I'm not pushing the red around. I'm trying to get that yellow. I think I gotta add a couple more drops of yellow to get it pop a little bit more, specifically right there. So that's as much yellow as I want to put in. I've just got my old red rag and I'm just kind of cleaning up any spots I think might be trouble. So that little titch of yellow is really going to accent the body really nice here. I'm just going to take a dry towel and make sure I don't get any blotchiness. So that yellow really lights that top on fire right here, which is what I was looking for. So the gold hardware, I think actually is going to sit a little bit better. So let this dry. Next thing we're going to do here is we're going to take this razor blade, and what I did is I taped off only thing other than a little edge, and you're just going to go back and clean off the binding so the binding is nice and clear. So I'm not going to film this whole process, but you can see you just take it and slowly scrape clean where the red and the brown is from the dye. Definitely got to be careful not to go too far so you don't scratch the wood. But this is really just time consuming but simplistic. Alright, next we're going to spray with McFadden sanding sealer and put the first coat on here. Alright, so we'll speed this up here, finish the first coat and get that horn. Here's the second coat going on and applying it pretty thick. What I'll do next is let this dry, sand a little bit back so it's level, and then do about 6 or 7 coats of nitro. This actually turned out pretty good. This is still the sanding sealer. Very happy with the way the flames shot out of this piece of wood, and really just great looking guitar here from before.